Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Easter. Today we have resurrection eggs today to help us through the Easter story. So the first one we have a number on it. It's number 1, and I'm going to have Elijah open it and tell us what we have in it.
There's a dead leaf in it.
Okay, so in Zechariah 9:9, it says, "Rejoice greatly, O daughter of Zion. Shout, O daughter of Jerusalem. Behold, thy king cometh unto thee. He is just and having salvation, lowly and riding upon a donkey and upon a colt, the foal of a colt." So this is just what we went over last Sunday on Palm Sunday. It represents them putting the palm branches and their coats in the road for Jesus to walk on to show their respect. So so we have egg number 2. We're going to have Zion open up egg number 2.
There is bread.
Okay. And in Matthew 26:26 it says, "And as they were eating, Jesus took bread and blessed it and brake it and gave it to the disciples and said, 'Take, eat, this is my body.'" Jesus and the disciples knew what was about to happen. They were taking this bread to break it this was to represent Jesus' body. And Jesus and his disciples were all sitting around Jesus at the Lord's Supper, and that's what the bread represents. And in egg 3, Elijah's going to open for us.
There's coins.
There's 3 silver coins. In Matthew 26:14 and 15, it says, "Then one of the disciples called Judas Iscariot went into the chief priests and said unto them, 'What will you give me if I deliver him unto you?' And they covenanted with him for 30 pieces of silver." So did y'all hear that one of Jesus' disciples, Judas Iscariot, betrayed him for 30 pieces of silver? Wow, he betrayed Jesus after everything that he had seen Jesus do for 30 pieces of silver. And then so let's move on to our next egg. Let's see, egg number 4. Zion, go ahead and open that for me. It's a small string.
It's a small string.
So, and in Mark 15:15, it says, "And so Pilate, willing to content the people, released Barabbas unto them and delivered Jesus, when he had scourged him, to be crucified." Scourge means to tie him up and whip him. So Barabbas was a murderer, but the people wanted Jesus to be crucified, but to set Barabbas, a murderer, free. So they wanted Jesus, although Jesus, he had not done anything bad. They wanted to set Barabbas free, and they wanted to crucify Jesus. Okay, so on egg number 5, Elijah.
It's purple cloth.
Okay, it's a purple cloth. So the purple cloth represents what they put around Jesus. Okay, so in Matthew 27:28 through 29, "And they stripped him and put him a scarlet robe. And when they had planted a crown of thorns, they put it upon his head, and a reed in his right hand. And they bowed the knee before him, mocked him, saying, 'Hail, King of the Jews.'" And in this picture that you're about to see, they put a crown of thorns on his head also. Okay, and egg number 6, Zion, go ahead. Yep, egg number 6.
It's a cross.
Okay, it's a wooden cross, and then this crown of thorns you see. So in John 19:17 and 18, "And he, bearing his cross, went forth into a place called the place of the skull, which was called in Hebrew, Golgotha, where they crucified him and two other with him on either side of Jesus in the midst. Not only did they whip Jesus so bad, they made him carry his own cross. Can you imagine the cross? It ain't as small as this one. The one that we had was very small. But he had to carry his own cross. It was a lot bigger. It held Jesus on it, a grown man. And then in Peter 1:22-24, who has his own self bear our sins in his own body on the tree, that we being dead to sin should live unto righteousness, by whose stripes you were healed. So Jesus, on the cross, the reason for him going to the cross was that we would be able to be saved one day and not have to go to hell, that Jesus saved us from our sins to go to heaven and live eternally with him. So in egg number 7, Elijah.
Two nails.
So we have some small nails here. I only had 2, but there's supposed to be 3 in there. So the 3 nails represent, they had 1 nail in Jesus' hand, 1 in each hand, and 1 in both his feet. Zion, can you go ahead and stand up for me? And here, put it down. Okay, stand up. Turn around. So they had Jesus like this on the cross, and they had a nail through this hand and a nail through his other hand, and put your feet together, and 1 nail through his feet on the cross. You can sit down now. And Mark 15:24 says, and when they had crucified him, they parted his garments, casting lots upon them, and what every man should take. So not only did they nail him to the cross, they stripped him of his clothes and were bargaining them off away to other people. So let's look at egg number 8.
It's a paper that says King of the Jews.
Okay.
Jews.
It's a sign reading King of the Jews. In Mark 23:38, and a superscription also was written over him in the letters of Greek and Latin and Hebrew. This is the King of the Jews. They mocked him. They were making jokes. They did not. This was not a sign of respect. This was mocking him, making fun of him, just to try to make light of who he actually was. So in egg number 9, Elijah.
It's a stick and a cotton ball.
Okay, so the cotton ball is supposed to represent a sponge, and the stick is supposed to represent a spear, and it's got blood on the end of it. Okay, and on this one, in Matthew 27:48, it says, and straightway one of them ran and took a sponge and filled it with vinegar and put it on a reed and gave him to drink. So one of the Roman soldiers ran and got Jesus something to drink. That's what the cotton ball represents. He dabbed it in some vinegar and gave it to Jesus to drink. And the spear, we're going to read in John 19:34 and see what the spear is about. So, but one of the soldiers with a spear pierced his side, and forthwith came there out blood and water. So one of the soldiers took a spear and pierced it through Jesus' side, and he started bleeding, and water came out. And that's when they had known that Jesus was dead at that moment. In egg 10, we're going to see what comes up next.
A piece of white cloth.
Yes, with what's inside of it. Spices. So in John 19:40 it says, then took they the body of Jesus and wound it and linen cloths with spices, as the manner of the Jews are to bury. So after they had crucified Jesus, Joseph took him down off the cross and wrapped his body to prepare for burying him. So, and Joseph, he had to go to Pilate and ask for permission to take Jesus off the cross and prepare him for burying him. And egg number 11.
It is a rock.
So it's a rock. So in Matthew 27, 59, and 60, it says, "And when Joseph had taken the body, he wrapped it in a clean and linen cloth and laid it in its own new tomb, which he had hewn out in the rocks, and he had rolled a great stone to the door of the sepulchre and departed." So the rock symbolizes the rock that Joseph put in front of the tomb where he laid Jesus. Nowadays, when you go to visit someone that has passed away, they're in the ground. We don't have above tombs. This was an above tomb that he had prepared and put Jesus in, and he put a huge rock in front of it that no man by himself could move. So let's see what happens in the last egg we have, egg 12.
There is nothing.
There's nothing there. It's empty. Just like the tomb was empty on Easter morning when Mary and Mary Magdalene went to go to the tomb. It was empty. In Matthew 28, 5 through 7, it says, "And an angel answered and said ye unto the women, Fear not ye, for I know that ye seek Jesus, which was crucified. He is not here, for he is risen. And he said, Come see the place where the Lord lay, and go quickly and tell the disciples that he is risen from the dead, and behold, he goeth before you into Galilee. There shall ye see him. Lo, I have told you." So an angel came and told Mary and Mary Magdalene that Jesus was not there, that Jesus has risen, and like the Bible had prophesied before that he was to do. And that's why we celebrate Easter this morning, is because Jesus rose from the dead to save us from our sins and that we could get a chance to go to heaven. Thank you, everyone. I'll see y'all next week.